Hello and welcome to the show. I am back at the top of Mt Chiliad for some more downhill chaos. My first vehicle of the day is the Lectro. Now, motorbikes have traditionally been very fast down this course, and I was expecting this one to go pretty damn quickly. This is the sort of electric hybrid bike that has a sort of a KER system. Unfortunately, sporting this in single player, the KER's boost doesn't seem to work, and I don't quite know why, but yeah, there we go. Now, the bikes tend to be very fast because of their grip. You can carry so much quarter speed and the brakes. But on this first attempt, well, I completely and utterly missed the first corner. Really, I just couldn't get it stopped in time. Now, I'm not sure if that's a characteristic of this bike, or whether it's just sort of bikes in general. Perhaps the brakes have been turned down just a little bit. I mean, it's still very good under braking compared to the cars, but it's not quite as good as I was expecting. And the other thing with these vehicles having, or these bikes having so much grip, is they can often get a little bit twitchy. As it's still, I can't get it stopped. I just cannot get the bike stopped. In the end, Michael finds a tree, and that sort of does that. Amazingly, Michael survives and the bike survives, and I'm not quite sure how that works, as that was carrying some serious speed. Normally, when you hit a tree at that sort of speed, you're not going to survive that. But somehow we got lucky on that one. But yeah, the downside of so much grip is it can be a bit twitchy, and you can find yourself often bouncing into stuff. This bike also is not a fan of the bumps around here. Had some real issues. That one there is a great case in point. I turned into the corner, I got a little bit of a bump, got across the bumps, the bike ended up out wide, found another bump, and it just wouldn't turn, and it was off down the outside. That one there may have turned in a little bit too soon. Amazingly, I bounced off the tree and everything is fine, but we're not stopping. There's still not a hope in hell of getting the bike slowed down. Yeah, I was expecting better brakes from the bike, I have to say. I was really expecting it to get slowed down a lot quicker than it did. But yeah, you had to be a little bit careful with this. Again, finding the bumps on the inside, and it's just enough to throw the bike out wide. And well, to be fair, at any corner here, you end up being thrown out a little bit wide, you're going to have a pretty sizable accident. And down into the first corner, was still having troubles getting the bike slowed down. Took a shortcut. I was hoping I could sort of jump back on the track, but nope, couldn't quite get it positioned right. And off we go again, getting some serious speed on the way down here. And you can see the amount of time it takes for the bike to come to a standstill. Yes, it is a very steep hill, but it's better than the cars, but not by as much as I was expecting. Again, having issues down towards the end of the course, having to sort of take to the banking to avoid having a crash, and then we're never stopping that. Just too much speed into the final turn, and the bike goes soaring off. It's a difficult thing to get right. The bikes were always challenging vehicles to ride down here, just because of the amount of speed that they can pick up, and the amount of corner speed you can get away with if you get things right. But yeah, you really do have to get things right. I mean, yeah, round the turns here, it is absolutely flying. And if you get sort of, for example, this turn here correct, you can carry huge speed through it, far faster than the cars can do. But you know, you hit the bump on the inside and we're off, or you brake a tiny bit too late and you're going to have a really big off. Down here, having to really make sure I got the bike slowed down. Carry great speed through this next turn. This is one of the corners where you can make up huge amounts of time, but you have to really make sure you were slowed down beforehand. It's very easy to overshoot that. It hated the bumps around here. Had to be really careful with your line through there, because it really did get thrown about over the rough stuff up towards the final section. And well, being a motorbike with a lot of grip and much narrower than the other vehicles that have gone, much easier to get it down that little side road, and it is flat out around the final corner and across the line for the Lectro. It's quick. The bikes are always likely to be fun. A little bit of a shame that the KER system didn't seem to want to be working for whatever reason in single player. But yeah, a difficult bike a difficult vehicle to drive. But it got down there in the end. Up next, it was the turn of the Guardian, half sort of semi-truck, half pickup truck. It's a really rather crazy contraption. However, we have seen the Insurgent go very, very quickly down this course. The reason being is that some of the sort of the sports and the supercars have been struggling a little bit, quite a lot on the very final few corners. But the big off-road, or certainly the Insurgent, you had no worries really with the vehicle. So I was wondering whether this has got good ground clearance and good suspension, designed for off-roading. Maybe we could see a fast time from a vehicle. I also love how the hikers are just walking up. A great big pickup truck is pointing down that way. They're just stopping to take a photo, and they barely react when we set off as well. Yeah, suicidal hikers yet again. May have got things a little bit wrong into to turn 1, and the guy is bouncing all over the place. But no, I'm not really worried about the rocks and the fences with this. You kind of just go through pretty much all of them. Things went okay on the first run up until I ran a tiny bit wide, clipped the wall, put the Guardian up onto 2 wheels, and yeah, that was it. The truck's off the course. I love how tiny the engine is as well. It looks quite ridiculous in there for the size of vehicle. It has got an absolutely diddy little engine. But yeah, I mean, the first run, it wasn't terrible, this truck. I did have some issues at the hairpin, I have to say. We had some issues getting it turned around here. It really, I was trying everything to get it turned, but being such a big vehicle, it was a little bit uncooperative. Yeah, try and handbraking it and kind of sliding it around there, which is what you have to do pretty much with every vehicle if you want to carry speed. Just didn't quite work in the Guardian. And the Guardian did have a like of slightly falling over with such ground clearance and sort of rather relatively high centre of mass. It did not take much to get the Guardian to tumble. A little mistake with this, we put it up onto 2 wheels, and certainly on the first section, the second you get it up onto 2 wheels, this is what happens. You sort of tumble off down the mountain and then pray that something's going to, in this case a tree, is going to stop you tumbling. Brakes weren't amazing on this thing, as you could perhaps expect. Again, I'm finding the same slight bump on the inside. Managed to land it without soaring off down the hill this time, but yeah, just clip the inside, put it on 2 wheels, and had a roll. It wasn't as good under brakes as the Insurgent. I will say that much, which is perhaps quite surprising. As I get a big 2-wheeled moment, then we get a little bit wide, and then we get all of the scary under braking, and manage to just about stop it from going off the edge. But yeah, we may have got it a little bit stuck. It's yeah, the braking was okay, but you did have to be aware of the fact that it will take a while to get this thing slowed down. And it was the rolling over though that was the bigger issue really. The second you kind of got near the hills and so on, you just put it up onto 2 wheels, a tiny bit up onto 2 wheels, and there was nothing you could do about it. It was going to be going over, and with so many bumps and stuff, it's so easy to get it up again. I clipped it on the inside curb, put it onto 2 wheels, and kind of lost control of it out towards the outside of the track, and then that somehow managed to flip it the other way around. It was, yeah, not a good place to end up. And again, just brushing the mound of dirt on the inside, and off goes the Guardian yet again. It's definitely the vehicle I've had most trouble with rolling over. I expected the Insurgent to be a bit more like this, but the Insurgent was actually really rather easy to drive. The Guardian was just one of those you just had to be careful with, sort of going near, kind of in some ways you have to be careful kind of going near the apex of corners, because if you sort of brushed the raised dirt sections, it was going over. It didn't have the problems with the bumps that we had with the Lectro. Of course, big off-road truck, this thing, it is perfectly capable of dealing with all of the bumps. And sort of like the rocks and the fences around the course didn't really matter too much if you hit them. They kind of got out of your way when you have a vehicle of this size. The hairpin, it actually was kind of helpful to get the vehicle up onto 2 wheels to get it turned around there, because it really just did not like getting turned at the hairpin, and I was having to be very, very cautious through these corners. Certainly couldn't carry the speed of the motorbike around here. I mean, there's decent enough grip in this vehicle, and it's okay on sort of acceleration and speed front, but it's just that the getting up onto two wheels and rolling over that is the real concern as we come up towards the final section. Again, you come around the turn and it's wanting to get up onto its side. A little bit of a heavy impact on the front there as we fire it down the little side road, trying frantically to keep it under control and then make sure we get it stopped for the final turn as we bounce around. And again, we're on two wheels around another corner and up towards the finish line across the jump for the Guardian. It is, yeah. It spent a lot of time on its side and rolling over. Have to be really, really careful. Does not take much at all to get the Guardian tumbling. But yeah, not too bad a vehicle to drive. And our final car for the day is the Slamvan. This is I think it's the lost Slamvan. So it's actually a proper van rather than kind of like the pickup truck one that you normally see. But yeah, I was curious to see how this thing would do, because the big, shall we say, concern, the big scare with this vehicle is the brakes are atrocious. The brakes are really not very good on this thing when it comes to driving it around normally. So extra super duper care has to be taken if we're going to try and get it down Mt Chiliad. The first run though, amazingly I got it stopped. I may have been quite cautious coming over here. I did get it stopped for the first corner, surprisingly. Similar place that we had issues with the Guardian, only rather than it rolling over, I just too much speed. Too much speed, and then we couldn't stop it, and now we're going to go tumbling off back down here. And there is very little hope of me actually getting this now back under control again, because not only is it twisting and flipping, and there's bugger all I can do when it's twisting and flipping at this sort of speed, but the second that it is back on the ground and you have all the wheels there, it just doesn't stop. I mean, I said the Lectro's brakes were bad, and they were for a motorbike, but yeah. It just doesn't get stopped. I did that so many times coming into that corner, trying to figure out quite where it was I could brake. I ran wide so many times. The other slight interesting characteristic with this car, it did have a tendency to oversteer if you got things a little bit wrong, if you asked a little bit too much of it. And you can see again, I was testing the brakes. You cannot actually have it stationary. I don't think I've had any or very, very few vehicles have it. It's just it won't stop. It will not stop rolling down the hill. That's how poor the brakes are. And so it's not really ideal. Back up at turn one this time. Didn't quite get it so well, and I slowed it down to the point where it kind of rolled off the rock. It's not. It probably would have been better to go a bit faster off there, and you could have avoided. Well, yeah, you could have avoided this as it flips and twists its way around. Yeah, as I was saying, the oversteer. It's not a massive problem, I'll be honest, because you're often not going fast enough for it to be a problem. But if you do get things a little bit wrong in the truck, it will get very, very big oversteering moments. Again, running wide at the same corner and then dipping a wheel over the edge, and we're not saving that in a Slamvan. And then it's promptly stuck here as well. There's, I cannot do anything to get it out of there. That is well and truly wedged. And same thing again, trying to get the braking point right. This time, rather than bouncing off it, I kind of roll, sort of go up the side of the the rock face there, and managed to roll the Slamvan over. Amazingly, kept it all on the course. I was really expecting that to go soaring off down the mountain, but somehow kept it all under control. Actually, quite nice and smooth on the landing down there as I try to fire it off down the side bit. I think it was the bushes being a menace again, just catching the truck and turning it a little bit. I got it back to, I kind of got it under control again. All it took was one slight brush on the on the hills, on the dirt, and there goes the Slamvan rolling over, and it's off all the way down the gullies. As I said, I couldn't do bugger all to get it back under control. I did eventually get a run. To be fair, none of these vehicles took really super long amount of times. They were, this lot weren't the easiest of vehicles to drive, but they had some very specific things, and once you were aware of the specific things, it wasn't too bad. So the Guardian, we had to be aware of its likelihood to fall over if we went near the apex of curbs, and the Slamvan, well, its tendency to not stop. On this run, I did avoid bumping into the rock. I only just, though. Getting the brakes right for that corner is pretty damn important for a run, because it's one of the fastest parts of the track leading up to it, so you want to carry good speed. And this isn't a massively fast car in a straight line. It's not the worst we've had, but yeah, it's not massively quick. But you kind of want to make the most of the straight, and yeah, trying to figure out the right point to get on the brakes is a little bit difficult. Of course, you brake too early, you're going to lose a huge amount of time. So yeah, just got away with it on this particular one. I have to say, I was impressed with the way the Slamvan dealt with the bumps. I didn't have that many issues, aside from the occasional oversteering moment, and often that was me just being a fool. We didn't have too many issues. Like down here, it was much smoother on the landings and much easier to drive. I mean, if you got it a little bit wide somewhere, it didn't have the same issues that the Lectro had. Really making sure to get it slowed down here as we're going to fire it off down this side, and we just can't really carry the speed with this vehicle. This time avoiding the bushes so we don't all lose control. I think we do catch one there ever so slightly, but it's not enough to cause any issues. We're on two wheels around the second to last turn, and then it's a little bit of a lift and a slight dab on the brakes around the final one. Across the jump for the Slamvan, definitely hitting a tree is the quickest way to slow it down. That's definitely the most effective way of getting this vehicle to stop. Yeah, once you're aware of the brakes, you could deal with it. You just had to be cautious, really. With this vehicle, yeah, three slightly awkward, slightly more difficult vehicles to drive down Mt Chiliad, but when we go look at the times, it is unsurprising to see the Lectro at the top of the leaderboard, 113.3 from the motorbike. While yes, it wasn't quite as quick as I was expecting, mostly down to the brakes and its dislike of the bumps, it's still very, very fast. You can still carry so much more corner speed than any of the vehicles. The Guardian wasn't quite as quick as I thought it might go, 129.0, only a second quicker than the Virgo and the Sterling. It's you just have to be so careful with that. Its likelihood to roll means I just couldn't carry the corner speed, and yeah, in being cautious, guys, you're losing some lap time to the sports and supercars up there. The Insurgent, definitely the better of the two for the off-roading. Insurgent, it just doesn't care. It goes over pretty much everything. Guardian, not bad, but yeah, got to be really aware of its likelihood to fall over. And the Slamvan at 140.2, not surprised to see it at the bottom. Actually, not too bad a time, all things considered, as it really does not. The brake's just terrible on it. Really doesn't get slowed down. But yeah, once you learn to deal with it, it's not as bad as you might think, and it's not quite as far off the likes of the Windsor as you might perhaps have expected. But that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.